we're going to explain the different kinds of wood and wood products to use in a wood-fired forge, whether it's a Whitlox forge or one that you've built yourself. Yeah, right now we're going to start with probably a generic softwood like hemlock or fir, not sure, and then this one is almost certainly Doug fir. So what we burn around here predominantly is Doug fir and hemlock. It's what's out in the woods. There's some scattered hardwoods like maple and alder and ash, but they're so few and far between that we just really burn hemlock and Doug. The most important thing about burning wood is making sure it's dry. If it's not dry, you will not get good combustion. You'll spend a lot of the energy that is trying to go into the forge and heat it up to get to forging temperatures in converting it from wet, unseasoned wood or even just wet wood outside to charcoal. So first off, it's really convenient to start with between 4 and 6 inches of wood. This length can vary just as much as you need. If you're doing a longer forging and long wood makes sense, you just don't want to process it down, that's fine, but I usually go about 4 to 6 inches. And from there, once you have rounds, you can take a machete, or in this case a hatchet, and process it down to about 2-inch chunks. The other wood option is hardwood as opposed to softwood like Doug fir, hemlock, so on. This is oak. It's what we've got available to us. Like I said, there really isn't too much available in our area, the Northwest US. It burns a little bit hotter in some cases depending on the moisture content. If I had to choose between wet hardwood and dry softwood, I would definitely go with the dry softwood. When I say that the wood converts to charcoal in the fire, we're never actually forging with wood. What happens is it cooks down from the top of the fire to the bottom. The V in a trench forge for wood fires focuses the charcoal that is generated from the effects of a smoke or a fire burning, and you just get a nice concentrated charcoal bed instead of firewood down at the bottom. So I pile it high so that I get as much conversion as I can while I'm forging, because I'll sit there, I'll turn my hand crank, and while I'm waiting or taking a heat on the anvil, the burning of the fire continues to convert the wood on top of the fire to charcoal. So it cooks down to charcoal, and that's what we forge with. It's a standard wood fire. You start with something light. In this case, I've got the top of a paper bag and a little bit of string. On top of that, I will pile just a few little pieces of wood that I picked up nice and dry and thin, and then I'll just stack this forging fuel on top of it, and it gives me a nice progression. And you could almost just start it with this. It just takes a propane torch and a little bit of sitting there and turning it. I like to start with the progression, if I'm not using charcoal, from paper all the way up to forging fuel. My favorite fuel to work with is charcoal. We make a softwood charcoal here on the farm out of Doug fir and hemlock. We end up with this really airy, soft biochar is what it ends up being. We make it in a retortless flame cap method burner. And it starts really fast. It gets up to a little bit hotter heat than even wood does. I can forge weld with wood. It just takes a lot of force on the anvil with the sledgehammer or a press if you've got it. And this just, I've burnt my steel up accidentally in charcoal several times. So it gets a little bit hotter. It's a much cleaner fuel as far as combustion goes, because we're not actually converting anything over to charcoal. We start with the base product. So this is made in a flame cap, we call it char cart. It's just a 55-gallon drum set at a 45-degree angle for a good part of its burn, and it results in this really airy, you can hear it, it's almost metallic sounding, and it breaks apart really easy and is fluffy. It doesn't stick together like coal does when you're actually burning it, but it does result in just really nice quick starting fire for forging. The other thing I've got here is a charcoal that we don't want to use, and it's called charcoal, but it's briquettes. It's compressed charcoal with binders and fillers in it. So you don't want to burn charcoal briquettes. If it has the word briquette on the packaging, pretty much you want to steer clear. If you're going to buy charcoal, you want to buy what they usually call chunk charcoal. There's several brands, but it's usually mesquite or oak chunk charcoal. As long as it doesn't have any binders in it and just says charcoal and not briquette.
Are there any other things that you might mistake for charcoal?
Other things you might mistake for charcoal is actual coal. This is bituminous coal, just a generic grade that I got on the internet. It came from the ground, underneath the ground, instead of deriving it from a wood product. You can't feel it, of course, but the coal itself it's a rock. It's hard. It came out of the dirt. It's incredibly heavy compared to the charcoal. You take the charcoal and you can easily crumble it with a knife. This stuff, it breaks like rock. And the wood-fired forge is really not designed for it. There's no way to effectively break the clinker off, and there's usually a fair number of holes. Like in ours, it's a 5-hole forge, and you'll get such a long fire bed with a wood-fired forge. You'll just end up wasting a lot of your coal. You're better off getting a coal forge if you want to stick with coal. These are all things that you shouldn't burn in a wood-fired forge. We've got things like plywood and pressure-treated wood. Any wood that's been treated with any chemical, that chemical will come off in the fire, and it can do nasty things to your lungs and your nervous system. Plywood has a glue and a binder that's used to hold all of these together. Pressure treat has been coated with many things in order to get it to stay preserved, and it will burn off and get in your face. It's not good to breathe in, and it doesn't burn very good. And it's just, you got those briquettes here. These are just all things you really don't want to burn in a wood burning fire. Here we're going to show you what it looks like to add wet wood to a dry established fire. I'm going to go ahead and feed it to show you what it looks like when you put nice dry wood into a fire. You'll go ahead and get a little bit of smoke there, but it shouldn't smoke a whole lot. This is really nice dry seasoned wood. Here, there's 0 to maybe a tiny bit smoke. We really aren't seeing a lot of smoke, even with that fresh addition of wood. And if I stop cranking, you do get a little bit more. And if you really pile it on there, it will smoke more and more. But this is kind of the ideal handful size to feed. So if you're getting a small amount of gray smoke coming off of there that comes out in wisps and doesn't billow and cloud out, that's just fine. So I'm going to take some wet wood that I've got soaking and show what a fire shouldn't look like. You'll know your wood is too wet if your fire does this. So I've got these wet pieces of wood. They're much heavier than they were. And we've got a nice, clean, smokeless charcoal fire in there. I'm going to go ahead and put in these wet pieces of soft wood. You hear that sizzling, so it starts to sizzle, and you will get a fairly good amount of smoke starting to billow out. So because, and not smoke, but steam, you've got this much thicker smoke that kind of sticks around, and that's mostly steam at this point. It's not impossible to blacksmith with wet wood, but it will be much more difficult. The metal won't get very hot, and you'll have to use a lot of fuel to get even just a little bit of forging charcoal made. So thanks for watching. In summary, whatever kind of wood you have floating around that's not treated, whether it's hardwood, softwood, you can use it to blacksmith whatever your heart desires. Some things to avoid are briquettes, and in our instance here, wet wood and things like coal. It just doesn't burn well in our forge. But yeah, those are our general tips. Thanks for watching.